And we are live. Hello, everybody. Look at us all holding our beautiful books times 3. Welcome, happy Monday. All those post-its. Yeah, you are. This is the right crowd for all those post-its. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to a Shelf Help Club Author Live. And this is a first for us because it is the first time that we've had a double author. So the fact we're all here and the tech has worked is a Monday miracle. So that we're very happy about that. And I'm really happy to be talking to you guys both again and sharing this brilliant new book, Glimmers. So tonight we are joined by Nadia and Katia. And you guys might recognise them from Self-Care for the Real World, which we covered, I think, back in 2018. So it's nice to have both of these books now side by side. But tonight we're going to be online for about 30 minutes or so talking about glimmers and nervous system healing. Any subscribers can ask questions as we go in the chat box. And I thought I'll just share a little bit about tonight's guests and the book. But hello, first of all, both of you, in London and LA, respectively, I think.
Yeah. Hi.
Nice.
Thanks for having Toni.
Oh, it's so nice to see you. So nice to see you. Here we are. People are arriving. They're giving us a wave. Yeah, so say hello as you arrive. Let us know in the comments where you're joining us from. So Nadia and Katia are sisters, wellness experts and best-selling authors of Self-Care Guides, Self-Care for the Real World, which, as I mentioned, was a previous book at the moment, and also Rituals for Every Day. Nadia is a celebrated yoga teacher and breathwork facilitator with nearly 3 decades of experience, guiding movement, meditation and breathwork to create spaces for deep transformation. Katia is a certified body worker and somatic practitioner in training. I've got here, Katia, that's right, with a focus on nervous system health, self-regulation and trauma recovery. And together they create practical, kind of well-grounded advice, and they share it through speaking, through writing. And ladies, can't tell you how much I love this book. I think it's found me at exactly the right time, but I also feel like the world needs this right now. And we talk about glimmers in the club quite a bit, but I didn't really appreciate before the connection with the nervous system. I've always thought it was more like a kind of gratitude practice or something about just using your thoughts. So this connecting... well, actually, Nadia, do you want to tell us what a glimmer is, first of all, and then we can kind of go into the nervous system side of things?
Well, I think the important thing about a glimmer is that it's a felt sense rather than something that we just think about. So to be able to slow down enough to pay attention to what is happening in our body when we have that experience. And it might be... Well, it's completely different for everyone. Has a different experience of what a glimmer is for them. And, a hug from someone that you love might make you just feel like, you can deepen your breath or relax your shoulders. And, so it is a felt sense in the body. And the more we can pay attention to them, the more we start to increase our capacity to find them and to feel them.
Sure. And Katia, then, if we're talking about that kind of felt sense, do we already need to be feeling, like we'll talk a bit about safety tonight and the nervous system, a lot of it is about that safe feeling. Do we already need to be feeling safe in order to experience glimmers?
No. So just to go back to your original question, what a glimmer is, they're these tiny little moments that are happening all around us every day. And the term was coined by Deb Dana, who is a clinician, and she works with a lot of trauma survivors, and she wanted something that was really simple. So words like safety and connection were a little bit out of grasp for some people, but these like tiny glimmers were really accessible to everybody. And like Nadia says, it's something that you feel. And yes, so you don't have to be in safety to feel them. They create safety.
Sure. Okay. And the idea of that feeling safe in your body and then feeling, and that's what makes us feel well. And that's what I'm learning from reading the book. So for you two then, so Nadia is the older sister, as far as I know. Somebody's already mentioned they can't imagine working with their sister.
I know, my eyes are fixed on that comment right there. I can't take my eyes off it.
But so obviously you guys have been working together for years, and then you've written this next book together. So over the last 6 years then, since I last saw you for Self-Care for the Real World, how have you developed and changed professionally, I suppose, and especially with regards to this understanding of self-care and nervous system. Katia, should I come to you first for that one?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, we had COVID.
Yeah, we did.
And I think COVID, for me personally, like it turned my life on its head, and I had a lot of time to rethink things. Like I had a busy cafe that I was running. And, when you're in that sort of adrenaline job, you don't realize how exhausted you are. And I remember having COVID and, there was no calls from the cafe, no problems. And this feeling in my system was like, oh, this is what I want, And so when things started to come back to life, I had made the decision then, like, no, I can't put my body through that anymore. And I eventually closed it. And everything I've done since then is, like I'm checking in, like, how does this make me feel inside? And am I giving too much? Can I have more space? And it's all about just like finding more time to rest and work and finding that balance.
Yeah, sure. And Nadia, I think it's fair to say that you guys have become experts in self-care and nervous system healing now because you needed it.
Yeah, I mean, with the first book, I think we were telling people to do it, but we were overriding ourselves all the time. Kept these really intense, busy schedules that and more than that, it was the underlying feeling of what happened when we did take care of ourselves. So in my case in particular, there was a lot of guilt or not deserving of it, or everybody else works so hard. What am I taking time off for? And I felt like I could only have rest if I really worked hard and really deserved it. And so just through writing the book, we started to, it's natural. You start really putting those things into action. And so I felt like it sort of prepared us a little bit as we started going into COVID and how important it was. I mean, I remember having the phone call with Katia when she was, I actually had COVID and I was in bed before they'd made the announcement. And Katia, I didn't even know what was going on. She's like, I got to get you food and they're closing everything down. And so I remember having the conversation with her. I was, all right, we need to figure out how best to take care of ourselves in this intensity, and what we can do. And actually we wrote self-care for self-isolation, which only went to the printers were closed, so it went to audio and Kindle. But it was really important for us to try and help people take care of themselves in this crazy time.
Yeah, I remember being in the closet.
Yeah, doing
like doing the recording.
Yeah, like trying to muffle all the sound and little actions in COVID that I had to learn to cook for myself in a way that made me want to eat my own food every day, and that was new to me. Katia had a family, so she was used to doing that. But so little things like that. And then I fell in love and, started a relationship quite late in life at 48. And it was really interesting to me to have this thing that I'd always thought I wanted, but to be in such a fight and flight state in it, because I wasn't used to having someone that I could trust and be in relationship with. So I had to really pay attention to my nervous system in the relationship. And and then we started working a lot more with nervous system stuff just within our own practices and our own lives, and becoming more curious about it, because suddenly we were starting to understand, we're starting to get what it feels like when we're not in a survival state all the time, and we kind of like it.
Yeah. So we were like, so more of that, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I love about this book is that you guys both share examples from your own lives, and like you've just touched on there, Nadia, you have kind of different, I suppose, a different family home setup at the moment. But I think that's so good because people will be able to relate I can relate to different parts, but I think people will relate to lots of different parts. And even just when you're talking then, I bet people can relate to that feeling of just like the shoulders going down and that deep breath from COVID that we all kind of wanted to hold on to. But yeah, there's loads of tips in the book. There's lots of brilliant advice. And there's just, I love the references to things like being in the airport. It's such a good way to, when we all think about now being in the airport and how your nervous system is up and down, and you say to use these kind of as practice zones almost. It's like this is a good chance to learn more about yourself and how you respond. So what do we all need to know about our nervous systems or the nervous system? Nadia?
Basically it's working, it's trying to help you, but it might be a little of an outdated system. So it's always scanning, for safety and to figure out if you're safe or if you're unsafe. But some of these systems may have been in place for a very long time, since childhood or since whenever, and they're not necessarily, they haven't been updated because we haven't been paying attention to it. So you might find that you're using an outmoded system in a relationship where it's not necessarily a healthy place for it to be used. So the more that we can pay attention to how we're feeling it on the inside, what we can do, little things that we can do all the time. I mean, it could be as simple as making sure you've eaten or you've gone to pee when you needed to pee, or little things like that we're constantly overriding in the busyness of our life.
Sure. Katia, you share a great example in the book about how I think you were actually saying in the book, just about to lose your shit just before bedtime. And your husband says, why do you always do this just before bedtime? And that was like a light bulb moment of maybe, I'm tired. So
I think it's really
important. Now.
I think it's really one of the best ways to work with the nervous system is the education of the nervous system and having the awareness of what's actually happening and how these responses are automatic and they're very ingrained in the system. And like Nadia said, they can be so old. And then we're using that same response that we had that kept us safe, maybe as a child or in a, it could be even as an adult, but like over time. And then we're using it and it's not in proportion to the situation that's coming at us now. Like this isn't the person that maybe hurt you or ignored you, but your nervous system just reacts without. So just understanding that that's happening in your system and going and catching it. Oh, okay, hang on. This keeps happening in this situation and I've got to do something different here. And those like the glimmers and, just the noticing creates a pause, creates a moment where you can try something different.
Where you can, well, I mean, I love that, where you can respond rather than react.
Yeah.
And going back to the first question that you have, like, what is a glimmer? A glimmer is literally the opposite of a trigger.
Yeah.
And so we're constantly in those triggered states and learning like, okay, let's take in the glimmers as well.
And so a lot of it is unlearning, isn't it? It sounds like, because our nervous system is trying to keep us safe, and it learned a long time ago maybe, and then we, I suppose, maybe validated that in different ways as we grew up. But how then, I mean, the book, you share loads of different ideas. Can you share a few ways for people, if somebody's watching this and they're very new to the idea of the nervous system and how to manage that and kind of keep it healthy? Nadia, could you share something that you might have shared in the book?
So I will share something very simple, but also Katia can talk us through a glimmer check as well, which would be really nice for the audience while they're here. But just really simple, paying attention, grounding yourself, feeling your feet on the ground, or if we're, I'm sitting upright. So just really feeling my seat on my cushion, my back against the wall. noticing where in my body I'm holding or gripping or contracting, and just seeing if I can just allow myself to be here now and feel, because, even doing something like this, right? There's an anticipation, there's a nervousness, your tummy feels tight. Oh, am I going to say the right thing? So even just taking this moment to, okay, breathe, I'm safe, I'm with you, I'm with Katia, nothing bad's going to happen. That just automatically makes me feel like I've landed a little bit more.
And just with Nadia, even communicating that and acknowledging, yes, there's that nervousness, I felt my breath just suddenly deepen. So then there's like a co-regulation happening. And I was like, I just really felt like, oh yeah, I just dropped a little bit more into my body. And it's these really subtle things. And most of the time we're just rushing or ignoring or avoiding the sensations, but these sensations are giving us so many cues and messages.
I think another thing to add to what Katia said, which is so key, is that they are small and it is slow because your nervous system has behaved a certain way for a reason. And so you can't just suddenly change it. And everyone's looking for that big magic that changes everything and makes them behave. But this is it's like a daily moment to moment practice.
Yeah, and you talk about the word there's somatic, and I'm hearing a lot more about somatic. I suppose does that mean in the body?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it literally translates to in the body.
Yeah, sure. And so is somatic work something that we could be looking out for? Or is this somatic work, just what we're talking about now?
It is somatic. I mean, the nervous system is in the body, and it's just, I think the world that we live in is so cognitive. Like we live up here most of the time, that we've kind of like have this thing where it's separated, like it's the body and but we're whole. And so it's about like sort of bringing also the cognitive and integrating it into the body, and the body communicating to the brain, because there's this constant dialogue that's happening, but we tend to just focus on what's happening up here. So it's really the somatics is about bringing that awareness into the body. And, a lot more therapists are training in the somatics because they feel like there's this missing part of the therapy. And they're trying to get people to sort of drop more into the body, but they both work together.
Sure. And is the goal then to be calm always? Is that
no?
Is that our goal?
No. I'm actually starting.
No.
I can already feel like the panic after I just did that whole calming thing. I was like, oh, I just saw battery running low on my phone. What am I going to do right now? How do I run and get my chart? And so then suddenly there is an appropriate stress response happening because I'm on an interview, and we're live, and I've got to like maybe go and get
make
my
a decision
and figure out how to do it while it's in the stand. And so, but to be able to just go, okay, there's nothing I can do right now, and I might have to excuse myself and go and run and get my charger and see if that's gonna solve the situation. But you're and when you're in busy states and passionate states, you're not always supposed to be like this. It'd be really boring to be with someone that was like this. But to allow yourself to fluctuate and notice, oh, there I am. I don't want to get stuck here. I want to just try to sort of find my way back.
Yeah, I love that. So the idea is like we can feel nervous or excited, or like can feel
we feel it all day long, and we go into fight, flight, freeze. All day it's going up and down, and so many of the somatic teachers like Peter Levine, they talk about this window of tolerance that we have, and that's kind of where the work is. So you have this window of tolerance where some people's windows are this small, so as they're coming up, they're hitting the boundaries and they're pushing right hard and everything feels like a lot because the container's so small. And what we want to do is just expand and be able to increase so we can feel the ups and downs, but without, like, for example, the small thing of like the batteries going low. Someone can react like, oh my God, the battery's going low. And that's because their container is really small. But if you have a bigger container, it's like, oh, I just need to go get my charger and I'm going to figure this out and we're going to plug it in. And do you see the difference?
Yeah, sure. It's not the end of the world. That's and even though like cognitively you can tell yourself that, sometimes the body doesn't.
The body doesn't feel it, and then you just. So it's like when people are very explosive, their window of tolerance is quite small, and so you just need to increase that. So it's all about having flexibility, so you can go up and down and up and down, and not like lose your shit in the meantime or like freeze.
Yeah, sure. Nadia, were you going to add something to that?
Yeah, I definitely think in menopause, our window of tolerance can be much, smaller too. And there's literal biological hormonal things happening with our brains and different things. So I think that it feels like such appropriate timing, for us to really want to take responsibility for our responses and reactions in the world. Because if we all just react and explode all the time or shut down and not communicate, this is where the problems are lying. At the moment, that's what's happening all over the place.
Yeah, and so they're the two ends. They're the two extremes, I suppose. The overreacting or reacting unreasonably, or the total disassociation.
The fight and flight or the freeze.
Yeah, sure. And you do talk about fawning as well, don't you? We interviewed Dr. Ingrid Clayton about fawning, and that seems to have, people seem to relate to that very much in this group, I think.
Yeah.
So we're talking about this window of tolerance and expanding it then. How do we do that? Katia, shall I ask you?
Yeah. Some of the things that we've already talked about, education, the awareness, there's breathing, there's shaking, there's movement, there's so many ways, being in nature, all of those things just help build capacity.
And I think slowing down as much as, it's such a hard thing to put out there because everyone has a reason why they can't slow down. It's like, but you don't, you can because you don't have kids, or you can because of this or that. But we've had to learn it ourselves. And we notice, certainly in my case, I notice that I just fill my time up constantly with things, and I don't leave a lot of window to just take time. And so even little things that I try and implement, like really having my morning routine, is really important to me, because it feels like, okay, for that little period of time, I'm not having to give my energy out. It's just mine. And within minutes, it's going to get taken away from me. And so I've been really paying attention to that just personally myself, is how often do I get to just really sit with me without having to, do anything for anybody else. And it might just be tiny little moments in the day, but really treasuring that time. So just to slow it down a tiny bit.
You also mentioned earlier on about the idea of rest being earned. And I know that's a biggie for the guys in this group, the idea of, it's not okay to take rest until you've done all these things or until everyone else is taken care of. But I think you two are both big advocates for the importance of rest as a way to just take care of yourself.
Yeah, we're not very good at it. Katia, the busiest she's ever been right now. I was like, are you sure you want to take on this project? You're just learning. And she's like, I know.
But I think it's also, it's the small decisions that we make. So like I had a client that I was meant to have before this, and I knew I've taken on this project for 6 weeks that is like really intense. And I was going to squeeze everything in. I had my gym, I had my client, and then I had this, plus I'd worked all day. And I just went, you know what? I'm going to cancel my gym and I'm going to just reschedule my client till later on in the week. And then I had a bath before I came on, and I put my pajamas on and no makeup for the live. And that was like my way of just giving myself a moment to take care of myself.
Yeah.
Before, you know, because I know tomorrow, like the whole 6 weeks is insanely busy for me. And so I can just like find those moments to be like, okay, I can do that.
And I think even just noticing, paying attention to your own personality, and you know, there are times where we have to be very outward, whether that's a lot going on with family stuff, or, you know, in this case with our work, we've had to do a lot of podcasts and things like this where they do make us nervous. You know, are we going to say the right thing? And, you know, what is it going to feel like? And so doing the little things before or after to take care of ourselves has been really helpful. And that there are lots of different kinds of rest. It doesn't mean you got to take a nap in the afternoon. Might mean just don't take your phone and go for a walk around the block, or do something like that just allows you to get in touch with how you're feeling.
Yeah. Well, inspired by you guys, I actually reframed my mid-afternoon slump because I think, I don't know if this is perimenopause or age or just doing a lot, but it's like lots of people at about 3:00, I'm just kind of done. I feel like bandwidth is like empty, right? And usually I feel very guilty for then not feeling good. But now I'm just like, no, it's like I need to reset my nervous system, or I need to replenish myself in some way. So whatever I do for 15 minutes, which is generally just disconnect from being online, just makes me feel much better. But I've reframed it as it's a self-care action versus a failure of my day. And it makes and it's just so much more positive.
It's funny. My partner and I went on a meditation retreat in December, 7 days, and we both knew that we were going into busy times when we came out of it. So we decided to go like we brought slow to the max. We were like, we're going to do this so slow. And we came back on a Sunday, and on the Monday, you know, after being away for a week, you have to really catch up. And he came home at 2:00 on the Monday, and he was like, this is not normal how busy everyone is. This doesn't, you know, and so we are in a very overproductive time. And as women, if we're not constantly doing and producing, there is this like, oh, I failed, I'm not doing very well. And just like you said, just to reframe that is really helpful.
Yeah, and then recalibrating means actually that you can do more good stuff, right? If we all want to take on great projects, and then I think that's important as well, that you touched on, when there is a deadline, or when there is something super exciting happening, or when there is a big family get, whatever it is, at some point it is going to be hectic. But I suppose it's about rebounding and having the resilience to go to enjoy it, and then to come back to base, and for base to be maybe more calm. Yeah, and Katia, I suppose what you just talked about as well there, it's like it's building that self-trust, isn't it? Like I think you talk about that in the book a little bit, the idea that you are going to look after yourself, and you're going to make yourself a priority. So that's brilliant. Yeah. And what about the idea then of safety? Let's close talking about this, because safety can feel different and look different for everybody, can't it? And you give some examples in the book, and I think some of the examples you give are feeling unsafe in like a big busy party, but then I realized that I feel actually really safe in a crowd of people. That is my happy safe space, and I'm less happy by myself often. Maybe that's a different story, another book. But yeah, I'd be interested to know how you guys feel safe. How would you define that? And then maybe a few different examples.
The party thing, that was me. I joined this like women's business group, and I have this business, like the mushroom supplements, and I had to go to like a dinner, and oh my God, I ended up in the bathroom just like crying because I couldn't do it. I felt like it was so hard for me to be with all these people I didn't know, and it's really not my comfort zone. And I came out of the bathroom and I was like, breathing, water on my face. And then this lady just started talking to me, and it became very one-on-one, her and I. And we weren't talking about business stuff and it was really sweet. And then I found the safety in her there, just having this really intimate little conversation with her. But I also knew that I couldn't stay for much longer. And so then I, wrapped up and left quite early. And that was also like, I didn't force myself to push through it. And I was like, I'm going to bow out now. I did it. I showed my face. I ate. And then I left. But like just finding those little moments of connection with someone helped ground me. But it's not something I love to do. And so if I have to go to those things, my anchor would be like, we went to something, someone's book launch, and I was like, Nadia, come with me. And I was like, we just got to do a quick, like, sort of social, getting to know people thing. And I had her next to me, and then that feels much safer for me, and then I can do it. So it's just finding those little things that help.
Yeah, sure. Nadia?
My partner's very loves being around people. And so just even noticing in our relationship that it took me a while to understand. I didn't get why I was feeling so overwhelmed all the time. And I realized, I need quiet, and he needs to be filled with, like you, similar to your situation. But actually just in our relationship, he's learning to spend more time on his own. And sometimes he'll phone me and be like, you'll be so proud of me. I didn't put anything in it. I came home and took a bath and went to bed. And
all by myself.
And I'm much more okay about going out to things where I don't know too many people. But I might say to him, listen, we're going to your friend's birthday. I don't know anyone. So if you see me standing kind of on my own, just come and stand next to me. But I have to, I had to be okay with asking for it too.
Yeah.
And
you're very good at Nadia's very good with like the boundaries as well. Like, okay, if we go for that dinner, can we go early and leave by this time? Because then it's too much for me, so she has a window like 6 to 9.
Yeah. And actually we just did that the other night for a friend's birthday. And him and I are both on the same page. They didn't start dinner until 9:30. Like, what? We ate something before we went because we knew we'd be hungry by the time. And we went and we had a drink and everyone was sitting around. And then they all went for dinner and we kind of escaped. No one missed us at the dinner, by the way. No one cared. And but also after our book launch, I knew that it was going to be a big outward expenditure. And I knew that I was nervous. We'd had a really busy day before. So I put my trainers in my bag and I walked home afterwards. And I was like, I just needed to be alone and quiet and just reflective. And so just little things like that and understanding what your limits are. But we're not always going to get it right. And so to also understand that when we mess up and we don't get it right and we stay a little longer or whatever it is, just how can we take care of ourselves the best when we get home or in the morning or whatever.
Yeah. That's information, isn't it? And then it's like you can adapt accordingly. Yeah, people in the comments are actually saying it's so refreshing to hear you both say that. And I think there's something very liberating about knowing that we don't have to be this person that we think we should be or that everyone expects us to be. And like you say, Nadia, to people, sometimes they don't care.
They don't care. I have a really great quick story. We had a New Year's Eve. I hate going out. I always want to be at home and quiet. And that's just my thing, always. Maybe a protection from being single and not wanting to feel, And anyway, we got invited to a New Year's Eve party. And I was just really honest. I was like, listen, I love you, but I want to be in bed by 9:30 and get up early and do my intentions. And she just said to me, just come and leave whenever you want. I would just be see you. Eat and run, she said. And I literally, she moved up to top 3 people in my life because I was like, what a kind, generous gesture of do what you need to do, but I'd love to see you. And I really am trying to keep that going myself with invitations, like no pressure. It'd be nice to see you, leave whenever you want.
Yeah, I love that. Gorgeous. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing
my phone
the story.
Thank you.
Yeah, the phone survived. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight and for your comments. Lovely. Go get this book immediately, everybody. Go get it. It's beautiful anyway. Look at this on your bookshelf. And honestly, it's so full of wisdom. It's got a beautiful blue ribbon.
I'm trying to get the light on the gold.
Get the glimmering. Yeah, I feel like there's so much I want to talk to you about, but everyone just read it in the book. There's all these tips. And I really appreciate how you share stories from your own life, because I think it's just so brilliant that we can all relate to those bits. So thank you guys. And thank you guys for being here. And enjoy the rest of your night. Good luck, Katia, with the project. Enjoy the rest of your day, Nadia.
And I wanted to just say on here in front of everyone, when we did self-care, you were just starting. And I'm just so pleased for you that you've had this passion for this project and it's just doing so well. And you've got this great community. I think it's wonderful. So well done.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you for spending some time with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
See you soon. Take care.
Good night.
Bye.